Hello and welcome to Cliff Reviews Art House. This time I'm reviewing the film Passages, directed by Sachs. This is a film about a filmmaker, Thomas, played by the excellent Franz Rogowski. He has a husband, Martin, played by Ben Whishaw, and he starts having an affair with a woman, Agatha, played by Adele Exarchopoulos. Now, I watched an interview with Sachs where he said that it's a film about intimacy, desire and pleasure. I'm not 100% convinced by this, as I'll explain. Thomas becomes confused and oscillates between Martin and Agatha. The film is about him not knowing what he wants. When he's with one, he wants the other. He's a film director and we start the film on set with him. We see that he's really controlling about every detail and not that pleasant about it. I think that this does give us an indication of what he's going to be like in relationships. I ended up feeling really sorry for the husband, Martin, and the woman that becomes his girlfriend, Agatha. Thomas is so manipulative and pretty much always gets his way. It's interesting in this Me Too generation where we're really becoming aware of how people in power use it to manipulate and abuse others. Thomas doesn't use his power in terms of work, at least as far as we know. However, he does have power over others, and he does use it. Of course, we wouldn't normally associate this with Me Too. However, it is an abuse of power. And Martin and Agatha are both vulnerable enough to fall for it. It made me reflect on whether the two of them are complicit in some way. It's within their power to do therapy or whatever they need to do to change. But I do think that they're probably both so powerless and they just don't have the tools to resist. In the end, whether Martin or Agatha stay with Thomas, I'm not confident that they won't repeat the behaviour in future. To be fair, even though Thomas is not a nice person, I don't think that Thomas is just a bad person. A person who connects with others in this way must surely have his own issues from the past. It's possible that Thomas doesn't have the tools to be any other way. When he tells Agatha that he loves her, that's what he's feeling at the moment, but he has no idea of what love is. It's powerful how potent lust and that beautiful romantic chemistry is. It feels so strong and it is intimate, but once the high is gone, the relationship looks different. This is how I read Thomas's behaviour. I think that what I'm saying is that this film isn't a film about intimacy and pleasure. Rather, it's a sophisticated observation of dysfunctional and toxic relationships in action and how people keep getting hurt. Intimacy, desire and pleasure are what Thomas actually uses to entrap his victims. But the film is about so much more than this for me. The acting is excellent. All three main actors are A-list stars. The film isn't scared of a bit of silence sometimes. Sachs gives the actors time to really be in their character, which allows them to act beyond the words in the script. Rogowski definitely carries the film, but the other two are both brilliant in playing off him. I did wonder about where the title of the film comes from, Passages. We see that it's the name of the film Thomas is making, but it has to mean more than this. Of course, Passages has a definition in terms of travel which could be relevant. Thomas is travelling between the two relationships. Perhaps I'm reading too much into it, but I'm wondering if it's also sexual in its meaning. Perhaps Sachs is hinting that Thomas is acting on pure lust and he's just excited about the next passage. Sachs is certainly revelling in the sexual scenes of the film, so it wouldn't surprise me if he got a bit of pleasure from this double meaning. This brings us on to the sex. There has been some controversy about the rating of this film in the US and whether it's censorship or homophobia. My enjoyment of this film was not to do with the extended sex scenes. In fact, I do think that the sex is gratuitous in this film. Not quite Lars von Trier's Nymphomaniac, but probably could pass off as soft porn. It is very graphic, and it must have been challenging for the actors in filming these scenes because it's so intimate and looks so real. It's interesting because I've also seen The Equalizer 3 in the past few days. I think that has gratuitous violence in it. Just a little bit more than it needs, I feel. However, part of the Equalizer films is precisely that violence. If you've seen the previous two films, you know what you're going to get. It is the purpose of the film. Although I think Sachs hints that this film is about sex, as I've said, I think it's about so much more. And unlike Equalizer 3, where the gratuitous scenes are a major part of the film, I think that Passages becomes devalued if the sexual intimacy is seen as the central component. This sex isn't really pleasurable, it's more like abuse. At least, that's my reading of the film. Listen, I'm not saying that I don't like the film. Quite the opposite. I think it's excellent. The great thing about a film like this is that it so well observes toxic relation behaviour. And we all get a chance to see bits of ourselves and how we are in relationships. That's a great achievement. But for me, it didn't need quite such graphic sex scenes. Final point. They had some fun with Thomas's costumes. They made me smile. The crop top that he's wearing when he meets Agatha's parents adds a touch of comedy to what otherwise is a really serious scene. Overall, I do certainly recommend this film. It's a serious and complex drama about sex and relationships. Cinema needs films like this. Thanks for watching. See you next time.